Out of the gate, JT, the Stanley Cup is here. I had a dream that we would have a hockey team in Las Vegas that would go to the Cup and continue to go to the Cup. And the Stanley Cup begins tonight at Carolina. Vegas Golden Knights at the Hurricanes. Sound off like you got a pair. Act like a hockey fan. Get fired up. Drop the gloves and fight. Root for your team. Get into it. I'm the only hockey voice on the radio in Vegas here at noon. Every hockey fan should be calling me ecstatic. Ecstatic for tonight. Where are you watching the game? What are you doing? What are you doing? Where are you going to watch the game? You going to a bar? I recommend a bar. They're having big watch parties all over town. You can watch it at T-Mobile. Stadium Swim at Circa. All of our tavern groups that support us. There's plenty of places to go. You got to treat the Stanley Cup like it's a summer vacation. Everybody listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. You got to treat this week like it's vacation. You go to work, you do your job. If you got requirements with the family, pick up the kids, I get it. But then you got to load up the barbecue, load up the Modelo's, and get going for this game. Put your gear on, put your jersey on, get excited, get around people. Get around people that you care about who want to watch sports together and have some memories. Go to the memories. Don't wait for the memories. Go to the memories. And we got the Stanley Cup, which I kind of told you, right? You don't want to give me credit when I'm right. You want to tell me when I'm wrong. All right. That's part of it. That's part of what I do. You don't want to give me credit. I talk about this team going to the Stanley Cup every year. Every year, and I was all over it this year. I told you before anybody, this is an Olympic all-star team. We match up great with everybody. We're better than everybody because we got all-stars up and down this roster. Other teams don't. Other teams are good. They're very good. They don't have the Olympians and the all-stars that we have. We have more all-stars. We have better players. That should help you win. So I hope that's why they win. So get going here. I don't want to wait for hockey fans. I've been blanking, mining, and whining for the last month about you not being ready for this cup. I've been saying for a month you haven't been with me on this, and I'm finally getting credit for it. Get into this. Get motivated. Be excited. That's what we do on sports radio. We're not political talk. We're not religious talk. Okay? We're not coffee talk. We're sports talk. Get excited about great moments in your life. And if you're not a Vegas Golden Knight fan, okay. All right. But that's what we're talking about. And we're talking about the Knicks and the Spurs and the NBA Finals. That's what we're talking about. Levi Edwards in 10 minutes on the Raiders OTAs. I'll sprinkle some Raiders in for you. I'll sprinkle some Raiders in. But it's summertime radio. June to August is summertime radio. In a lot of days, there's nothing going on. Nothing. And I'm going to take some time off, roll up my sleeves on other days, come up with some engaging sports talk, hopefully, for you, and everybody can get involved. But on days like today, holy crap. I mean, this is Captain Obvious stuff. This is lower than the low-hanging fruit. We are a hockey town. We need to pretend we're a hockey town and act like it. So get going. 702-365-9200. Where are you watching the game? How you betting the game? Jeff Sherman will join us over the great casino bookmaker on how to bet the Golden Knights in the NBA Finals and what drastically happened with the moving odds now that Myles Garrett has gone to the Rams yesterday and A.J. Brown found a way to get to the Patriots. We are playing the Rams and the Patriots this year. How about that? I mean, we haven't gotten a break from the schedule. I mean, look, the Raider fans aren't freaking out. You're going to have to play who you have to play. But we got to play Myles Garrett with the Rams, and we got to play A.J. Brown with the Patriots. On top of playing Mahomes twice, Herbert twice, Denver twice. We got to play Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. We got a tough schedule out here in Raider Nation, man. It is tough. It is not for the lighthearted. But the Raiders are a vastly improved team. Levi will join us and tell us about some of the things he's seeing from OTAs. So I'm really pumped up. I got one more night show tonight, so I won't be able to watch the game with these viewing parties. And then I'm heading back to New York for a little bit and get a little time in New York. And then I'm going to be back here for the summer. and get ready for the preseason with the Raiders here. But we're ready to roll today. Clay, I know you're excited when the Vegas Golden Knights initially came in this building and had a partnership with Lotus Broadcasting with Tony Benici and Natalie and our whole team here. Could we ever imagine that this would be our third trip to the Cup in less than a decade?
Yeah, you're always happy when there's an inaugural year because everything's brand new. But then when you realize all the wins that have happened and all the greatness and the players that have come through here, you realize you've set a standard for excellence in less than a decade. So anything short of high expectations really doesn't bode well for any VGK fan. They expect the best.
You're not going to go to the Stanley Cup every year, but we've gone 3 times in less than a decade. So you got to embrace that. You got to embrace that because these Canadian teams, there hasn't been a Canadian Stanley Cup winner since 1993. How is that possible? 1993. And we're sitting here and we're going to the Cup, it seems like every other year. So if you're a original misfit, if you're a Golden Knight fan, don't make me wait today because it's not embarrassing to me. I know I got a big audience. I see the streaming numbers. I know our advertisers here, but I am really down on this hockey town when it comes to radio. I am. I've been down on it for years, and I'm thinking I'm making a difference, but it's a tiny difference. I want to make a big difference. I want hockey fans in Vegas to gravitate to this show. It's not an easy show to listen to. I'm demanding. You know, this isn't coffee talk and talking about cheeseburgers and where you get free Wi-Fi. This is a aggressive, hardcore sports talk show. That's my niche. It's sports. It's fast. It's aggressive. We don't waste your time. We can't waste your time tonight. We got the Stanley Cup. I believe it'll be 100 degrees today. Matter of fact, I took a screenshot of Chloe Close today on the morning show when I watched Kim Wagner. Today, 101. Wednesday, 103. Thursday, 104. Friday, 103. Saturday, 101. Wow. Man, that is hot. That is hot, but we have no humidity and bugs. So we have it pretty good out here. So get out, enjoy it, get in the pool, wear your jersey. The great Steph McKenzie, one of the most iconic rock jocks ever. She's running around studio today with the Vegas Golden Knight jersey on. And she's got a big show. So we want to hear from you, 702-365-9200. Find some hockey fans for me today so we could take the edge off of me. I'm very edgy today because I want hockey fans. I just had a meeting about that. I just met with my bosses on hockey. Okay, so this is really fresh on my mind before we get to Levi Edwards. The Myles Garrett story last night, I was on Sirius XM. Every call was on Myles Garrett. It's almost like they should fly the Lombardi Trophy to L.A. and give it to him. That's what people think now. Just the Rams are going to win this thing. If Aaron Donald comes out of retirement, it's over. I will say that. If Aaron Donald comes out of retirement to play with Myles Garrett, it's over. It's done. Just put them in the NFC Championship game and hope for a miracle that they get beat. A.J. Brown going to the Patriots, pretty big deal. They got a number 1 wide receiver. They didn't have a number 1 wide receiver last year in the Super Bowl. Stephon Diggs isn't a 1 anymore. He's a good 2. So now they got a quality 1 to go along with Drake May. We got to play the Patriots this year. So with all that said, I was on a podcast today with Nasty Nestor Aparicio in Baltimore. And he was even talking about what happened to Max Crosby. I said, well, if you got Max Crosby, you traded for him. If you had Max Crosby, you'd have a better chance to win. Now you don't even have Tyler Linderbaum or Max Crosby in Baltimore. So I think that's going to do in Baltimore. And for those who think there's a rumor with Max Crosby going somewhere else, more power to you. I was the guy on this channel telling you, everybody else was lying. When I was having dinner with Max and I was at the Commitment to Excellence Awards and Diana Rossini and Josina Anderson and the other housewives were telling you, Max is going to be moved tomorrow. No, he wasn't. But then Baltimore came in, made a deal, and Baltimore backed out of that deal. And I think Baltimore is going to regret that. I'm thrilled that Max is back. I am thrilled that Max is back because he gives the Raiders more opportunity to win. Levi Edwards joins us from our digital team. Before we get to the Raiders OTAs, were you shocked by the Myles Garrett news? That's one of the greatest defensive players ever. Still in the prime of his career, NFL Defensive Player of the Year, and now he goes to a stacked Rams team. How'd you see that?
Honestly, I wasn't shocked. I would say more surprised than shocked. I do think that eventually there was going to be a time where the Browns were going to move away from Myles Garrett. And I think people were distracted from the fact that he had just got this huge extension. But at the end of the day, he's still in the situation that he's in, and the Rams are in the situation that they're in. And at the end of the day, I think it works really good for both teams just because the Browns are in this position where they need to gain more assets and they need to become more of an up-and-coming team and build for the future, where the Rams are ready to go for it right now, win the Super Bowl right now. So it really makes the most sense for both parties. Obviously, people are going to be very shocked and surprised just because of the season Myles Garrett had. The historic, single season sack record has been broken. But at the end of the day, I think it's the best move for both parties. So I can't say I'm very shocked by the move happening.
Yeah, normally you don't get a player coming off defensive MVP. It's the first time ever paired with the MVP of the league with Matthew Stafford. So I think it sends an interesting message. And, I don't think the Raiders are rebuilding. I don't use that word, but they're coming off 3 wins. Now it's pretty easy for the Raiders to look at the standard now in the NFL when it comes to a roster, not too far as the crow flies from Henderson to Los Angeles on what the Rams have in their building when it comes to personnel.
Yeah, no, it's definitely apples to oranges when you look at it. I mean, I really do think that Cleveland, I want to say Cavaliers, the playoffs are just so – I'm just so deep in the playoffs right now. I keep on wanting to say the Cavs and not the Browns. I'm so sorry. But the Browns, they're in a situation where they're a really young team, but they're not a bad team. They have a lot of really young pieces even before they moved on from Myles Garrett. Their defense is really good. It's the same defense that sacked Geno Smith 10 times yesterday, like last year in the Legion Stadium. We all saw that, and it was brutal. So they're a pretty decent team, and they're continuing to try to become better and try to get younger because this is a young man's game. And, Myles Garrett is still the best pass rusher in the league, if not one of the best pass rushers in the league. So it's one of those things where he's going somewhere where he can immediately contribute to a winning roster, and the Browns can really look towards the future.
What'd you think of A.J. Brown to the Patriots? That wasn't a secret. A lot of people were reporting on that. It seems to be a good fit, and A.J. Brown's won a Super Bowl. Drake May went to the Super Bowl last year. That's a really nice bump for the Patriots to get a player of that caliber.
Yeah, we had heard rumblings about it. Obviously, A.J. Brown had kind of did his thing throughout the season when, reading the book on the sidelines. And something definitely seemed off between him and Jalen Hurts and the offensive coordinators. It was very visible. They weren't trying to hide it. And I think the final nail in the coffin for this trade, in my opinion, it was when the Philadelphia Eagles, they used their first-round pick on Mekhi Lemon, who's a guy that was arguably the best receiver coming out of the draft, him and Carnell Tate. They were kind of like, them and Tyson were kind of trying to figure out who was the best. So the Eagles, they use a luxury pick on a luxury player who can come in and kind of be a contributing factor right now. Because I really do believe that they have been preparing to make this trade for a while now, which is why they took Lemon. And at the end of the day, the Eagles, they do what they do best, and they got additional assets for the future that they know that they can turn around and do the most with. And then the Patriots are in a situation where they get a player who is going to replace Stephon Diggs as the veteran leader wide receiver with a young quarterback in Drake May, who is the MVP runner-up on the Super Bowl runner-up. So it's a really great situation once again for both teams. I think they both won this trade.
Levi Edwards is our guest. So you've been putting out a lot of great content here. I want to talk about Brock Bowers. You're ready to roll an OTA's column after battling injuries last season. What can you share with us putting that piece together? Because he had plenty of time to heal. He was banged up last year. He's at 100% now. He looked bigger to me, stronger to me from the shoulders. He just looked thicker. His torso, like he put on more muscle mass. What are you seeing up close following Brock Bowers?
Well, Brock he was already a pretty big guy to begin with. I think he's kind of like a sneaky big just because he's so athletic and he's really quick with his releases and route running and things of that nature. So people don't actually comprehend how big he is in person. So it's one of those things where he really got back to the weight room during his recovery and got, a little bigger, faster, stronger. And I think this last season really kind of had a hold on him, just in the sense of he had never really been in a situation where he's been hurt. He was never injury prone in high school or college. And so now you're dealing with this for the first time in your NFL career where you're hurt and you can't contribute the way that you want. So I think he did everything he could this offseason to make sure that he came back 100% and not putting himself in that situation and not play, or not putting his team in that situation to play. And to be honest with you, I mean, it's the same old same. I mean, he's still out there, torturing people on the field, still catching touchdowns, looks as good as he did the last 2 years coming into training camp. So there's nothing really new in that regard. He's back. He's better. And I really feel confident that Clint Kubiak is going to find some really cool ways to put him in this offense and let him do some different things.
Yeah, I think that's really important because anybody who watched, like we both did, Clint Kubiak call plays in Seattle, just saw what he was able to do with putting players in motion and, you know, just getting them open at the line of scrimmage on the release points and how quickly the ball comes out. Levi Edwards is our guest. When you're doing a deep dive on what this offense can be, is it fair to say that it's like the success with Brady when he had it in New England? The ball comes out to the player that they planned in the huddle to be the number one priority. They get him open, and the ball comes to him initially. If you got to check down and you got to go to the second or third option, okay. But the theory of Brady, who's now a owner on this team, was he would get to the line of scrimmage and know who was open, and the percentages would shift. They'd go to Brady's advantage. I think that's a lot of Kubiak, too. He got Sam Darnold to make the easy throw to Jackson Smith and Jigba. It could be on a curl route. It could have been on a slant route. It could have been on a stop and go, something that they prepared, and it seemed to work because the play calling was so elite.
Yeah, it's something when you mention that with the play calling being so elite. When I really do think about it, especially with what Clint Kubiak is trying to do and what I've noticed that he's done in Seattle, and even him coming from that tree in Minnesota under some really good people, and obviously his dad being who he is. The big thing is that you got to get the ball in your playmakers' hands. And it's one of those things where there's a lot of great quarterbacks in this league, and, you know, you can depend on your quarterback if you need to or if you want to, but at the end of the day, it's the quarterback's job to distribute the ball and get it in the right places to make sure that the right people are making plays. So I think more than anything, obviously it's going to be on the quarterback's job to get the ball to the right places on time, accurately. But I do think that this offense is going to be predicated around making sure that the guys like Brock Bowers, the guys like Ashton Genty, that they are getting the ball in open space and doing what they can, which is making plays, making guys miss. And the same is going to go for Jack Bech. The same is going to go for the three speedsters they got, because they have Dante, they have Trey Tucker, and they just brought in Naylor. Malik Benson's pretty fast too. So at the end of the day, I think the best thing that Clint Kubiak can do is just make sure that he's doing whatever he can to make sure that these guys are getting open and getting in open space. That way it's easier on the quarterbacks. All they have to do is just make sure that they make the right read, make sure that they get the ball in the right place, and then everything goes from there with the playmakers.
Levi Edwards, as we wrap it up. So Teron Johnson participating in the offseason program. He wasn't around a little bit early on, but I'm excited for him because I think – obviously playing inside in the slot, being someone who could be physical. He's played in a lot of big games where he was put in pressure situations. Now, you've known me long enough where I believe a cornerback should be able to play corner, not slot corner, nickel corner, or dime. You should be able to play cornerback if you're in the NFL, which is bump and run, one-on-one coverage. You don't have to be Willie Brown or Mike Haynes, but you're in the NFL, you should be able to play corner. What can you tell me about him with his versatility? Because Robbie Leonard is going to line him up all over the field. I don't want to see him come off the field much because he's got a lot more big game experience than many of the other players on the roster.
Yeah, it really is just all dependent upon situation. And obviously everybody loves your outside corners. Like you talked about, your guys that can play corner, those sticky guys on the outside, bump and run, be able to play press, do all those great things. But at the end of the day, a nickel back is going to be crucial, especially in today's game, especially with how crazy athletic these tight ends are and getting space and how they're being. We were just talking about Brock Bowers and singing his praises. You're going to need guys in the middle of that field and coverage that can be able to make plays on those kind of tight ends like Brock Bowers. So that's why Teron Johnson is so crucial because that nickel back position or that star position, depending on the kind of defense that you're running, it is extremely imperative. It's what won Seattle a Super Bowl last year because they were able to get Nick Emori from South Carolina. Probably butchered his last name, but they got him from South Carolina, made him that star kind of nickel guy in that defense, and he completely generated everything. So Taron Johnson has to play that role. Young guys like Trey didn't have to play that role. So I really do believe that making that trade is going to be crucial just because he's able to provide that, but also his experience. He's played in a lot of big games, been in a lot of big situations with the Bills. Granted, came up short a few times, but just a guy like that in that secondary with a very young, inexperienced secondary still trying to figure it out, it's imperative. Invaluable, I would say.
All right, what's going on the next couple of days when it comes to media, OTAs, players getting together before minicamp? Walk me through the schedule. I know you pumped it out there a couple of days ago. What's coming up?
We have OTAs coming up last week of OTAs this week, so we're going to have some really good content. I'm going to be at practice making sure I watch that. And then next week is going to be 3 days of mandatory minicamp. There's going to be a lot of interviews that are going to happen over these next 2 weeks. So definitely going to be a lot of content on Raiders.com, a lot of stories to be wrote. Obviously, the offensive and defensive coaches, they're going to be doing scrums today. So we're going to try to figure out what's going on in each position room going into the season. So I'm really excited. A lot of really good stuff to look for at Raiders.com with kind of how the stats of the team is going, especially with the rookie class being as deep as it is. We have so many free agent signings. So there's a lot of questions surrounding this team going into training camp, so we're going to try to answer a few of them.
You will do a great job as always. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks a lot, Levi.
I appreciate you, JT.
All right, Levi Edwards from our digital team, and they put up good content. They're in the scrums, he's in the meetings, he's doing all that, and that's great. I'm getting out of Dodge here for a little bit. I'll be back, and I'll be excited for camp coming up here. And we'll see. There'll be great information at Raiders.com for everybody who is into that. And you're going to see a lot of players that you're getting to know. I want to get to know the coaches better. I think when we have the opportunity to spend more time with the coaches, it's going to be great. Coaching philosophy is a big off-season topic for me. I know a little bit about Clint Kubiak, a little bit, but his style of coaching and what we've seen in the last couple of years with the 49ers, Minnesota Vikings, New Orleans Saints, and especially the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl. I'm excited for the Raiders to get it right. I was excited for Chip Kelly because Chip Kelly had a really good resume, and that thing train wrecked. Train wrecked. And again, it wasn't one person's fault. It wasn't all Pete Carroll's fault, all Chip Kelly's fault, all Geno Smith's fault. It wasn't everybody's fault. Just a lot of people didn't get the job done, and they cleaned house. Now these guys are coming in with a little bit more recent success and coaches that span the years. You're going to have younger coaches. You got older coaches, veteran coaches. A coach like Rob Leonard who was rewarded and is becoming a defensive coordinator. That's very exciting here. So I finished that interview, Clay, and no Golden Knights calls, right? None. Great. You wonder why I've been pissed off for 2 weeks. Can't get a Vegas hockey call in Vegas during the Stanley Cup. I'm not begging for anybody to call. I'm just telling you that there's no Vegas fans here. I'm just shocked by this. I'm shocked that we have the Stanley Cup. I can't go from an interview to a hockey call because I don't just think you know we're on the air or you don't know we're talking hockey. So I'm always resetting. And telling you that we're here to talk hockey to try to find someone with a pulse, a cop, an emergency worker, someone working on the streets, someone working, figuring something out on lunch, trying to get hockey fans to get behind me, and I failed. 702-365-9200 if you want to get in. And fortunately, Clay got some sound so I can take a breath. Here's William Karlsson on the standard here, an original misfit when he came back, especially on the penalty kill, on the power, whatever he does, Karlsson is fresh and ready for the Stanley Cup.
They know it's an organization that wants to win, and the players, we want to win too. So I think that's one of the main attractions. And then obviously it helps that it's a fun place to play in, good place to live. Sunshine doesn't, or it does help. And so There's just a lot of good things about trying to, play for Vegas. So that's why I also think it's people want to play here.
Yeah, he said something I've been talking about until I've been blue in the face. Sunshine, people want to live here. People want to play for this team. It's a good place to live. If you're a hockey player, do you want to live in Ottawa or Vegas? If you're a hockey player, do you want to live where? Where do you want to live? Do you want to live in New Jersey and play for the Devils, or do you want to play in Vegas with no state taxes and live on a golf course? I think it's obvious. I think it's big. All those other teams have the opportunity to get free agents and go out and get players too. They're not able to do it. A lot of players want to play in Vegas for financial benefits, lifestyle, and the fact that they're playing for an owner that wants to win, desperately wants to win. All Bill Foley does is tell his lieutenants, right? He tells everybody, go out and get me better players. Go out and get me players that can win. Go out and get me players that fit the system, which I think is incredible. 702-365-9200. Here's Noah Hannafin on what this moment means. I mean, from the Olympics and the gold medal to an opportunity to do it here this way.
Yeah, it'd be amazing, of course. Obviously, going through that experience, the Olympics was special. Possibly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So it was great, and I think now just to be back here in the Stanley Cup playing for the ultimate goal, you never know when this opportunity is going to come around again. So just trying to take advantage of it and embrace it and enjoy each day.
It's interesting. When I was growing up as a kid in Long Island, New York, there was a player named Ken Morrow. Ken Morrow was on the Miracle on Ice team of 1980. He won the Olympic gold medal, and then right after that, got drafted by the Islanders and won 4 cups in a row starting his rookie year. That has never happened before. That will never happen again. And I got a chance to get to know Ken Morrow pretty good when he was out here as he came back for that Miracle on Ice, and we had a chance to have some beverages together and talk. That will never happen again. No one will ever go from winning the Olympic gold medal to winning 4 cups in a row. But Hannafin and Eichel could go from winning the Olympic gold medal to winning the Stanley Cup, which is one of the greatest achievements in the history of hockey. If you can do that, you better have a good summer. You better buy yourself a new boat, go fishing, go on a great vacation, and really celebrate that. The monologue brought to you by Modelo, the fighting spirit of Modelo. A lot of Modelos are going to go down here tonight as the Vegas Golden Knights have a beautiful opportunity to get after it. Modelo, proud partner of the show as we open it up. We'll have Jeff Sherman join us in 15 minutes. The Moving Odds, one of the best bookmakers in town. How do you bet the NBA Finals? Where is the money going in the Stanley Cup final? And what has happened to the Rams now that they got Myles Garrett and the ability for Myles Garrett to lead the Rams to better odds so they could go out and win the Super Bowl? Alex Eschelman is also going to join us a little bit later on in the show. She's going to tell you about where the watch parties are tonight. And Bill Bender from USA Today, he has a detailed article breaking down the Rams and Browns trade. That is coming up, a really good insider at the top of the hour. Live from the Stanley Cup home of the Vegas Golden Knights, JT, as we open up the show. I feel like Carter Hart. I've been shut out. But Levi Edwards called in. So if the phones work for Levi, they can work for you. And we can get you going. 702-365-9200. Someday this will be a hockey town, and I can talk hockey. I'm going to try like hell for the next 2 weeks to do the best I can. JT back with you. Stanley Cup starts tonight. There's a lot of viewing parties here in the Valley. Alex Eschelman will join us a little bit later on to tell you all about that. We have hockey open lines, 702-365-9200. If you understand hockey, you know the sport, you know the rules. If you're a season ticket holder, I'm the only guy on the radio in Vegas at noon. The only guy. There's no one else in the building other than Clay and I. Right, Clay? There's no one else doing a show. Ryan, the hockey guy, isn't on now at noon, right?
It's wide open right now.
Wide open right now in the Stanley Cup. Wide open. I should move to Detroit and wait for the Red Wings to come back. Mike in Staten, Italy, you know sports radio. What would this be like in New York if the Rangers were in the Stanley Cup final? Light this place up, because I can't do it in Vegas. Do it from New York, Mikey.
Hey, JT, well, we had it. 1985, Knicks, Rockets, Rangers winning the Stanley Cup. It was incredible. New York right now is on fire with everything's the Knicks. And in Vegas, this first game, and usually a 7-game series, JT, the way I see it as a gambler, is this game is more important than anything else. It comes down to this: the experience of the Vegas Knights compared to the depth, youth, and defense of Carolina. Whoever is more physical in this playoffs, and I expect that to be the Golden Knights because of their experience. I expect William Karlsson to have a huge series. I expect for the Knights to win, and they could win easily if Hart just stays on track. The huge edge for Vegas is Hart because he's cool under pressure. What the Rangers showed against Carolina in defeating them all those times were once they get behind, they're not a good team, but they're a great front-running team. JT, I don't know if you've been watching, and something has to be done with these aftermarket sales of tickets. Do you see what the tickets are going for in Vegas? It's already the most expensive ticket in hockey of it in Toronto, but it's insane, JT, just to get in the building. 9 years, 3 Stanley Cups. It's amazing. That now the Knicks, JT, I'm so nervous for Wednesday night, opening day. Again, another big first-round playoff game to see if the Knicks could somehow come in there. Listen, I just want to win. But if they can make a statement, JT, I think we're in great shape. I need 15 fouls on Wembanyama real quick. I want to bang him around everything he goes through. It's just going to be.
Hey, Mikey, real quick, you're a season ticket holder for the Knicks, right? And how ridiculous are these Knicks tickets? I'm going to be in New York for one day during it. I mean, I'm not going to spend $3,000 for a ticket. What is the courtside seats going for? But the upper decks, if someone wanted to just buy 2 and take a father-son, what are these tickets looking like?
Yeah, you're going to spend $7,000 for 2 tickets. Just
$7,000?
To be in the rafters, you're going to spend that, JT. The court side, after the first 10 rows that are all given out, is $60 grand. It's $60 grand going forward. But JT, it's not going to be the regular fans. You'll have a few of them. This is all corporate. It's all corporate. But the bars around there, that you don't know how good, and this is coming from me being a bar owner, how great it's going to be for the bars. I mean, the New York needed something. New York needs a win. And again, the first thing, just like Vegas, seems to be they need to hit anything that moves tonight, JT. And let's whirl this into a Raider playoff after the Knights win the Stanley Cup. Let's get the Raiders in the playoffs, my friend. Have a great night.
Thanks, Mikey. Yeah, it's incredible what's happening with these tickets. 702-365-9200. If you look at the price of these tickets in Vegas for hockey or for New York for these games, San Antonio, more reasonable, but still pretty expensive overall. We've gotten to the point in society where championship rounds are just absurd. I mean, $7,000 for a pair for 2 seats to sit in the rafters. I don't know many people that would pay that. And the market's not coming down. It's not like, okay, that's $7,000, so it's $3,500 a ticket, and then a minute before the game, it's going to go to $2,000. No, they're all going to sell at that price. Now, Vegas for hockey is an expensive ticket. It's always been an expensive ticket. But there was some softening in the market this year. I had buddies calling me the night of games. I couldn't move tickets at all. They had tickets for $135. They couldn't give them away for $100. That happens from time to time, but rare. And a lot of people are going to want to go see. That's why it's so important that season ticket holders don't sell their tickets and they go to the game. Because the people that want to buy those tickets on the secondary market, there are 2 types of fans. One, they're opposing fans that are just desperate. They want to see their team, and they'll pay anything. And then the other are the fans that are fans of the Golden Knights or the Knicks, and they don't have season tickets, and they'll pay whatever it takes because they believe it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. 702-365-9200. For Vegas and hockey, I think the crowds will be great. Carolina's a super tough team. They're great on the forecheck. The key to this series is going to be the Golden Knights getting the puck in their defensive zone and getting it out of the zone quickly, making the bullet pass, making the big exit pass to get it out of their zone, because Carolina is the best forechecking team in all of hockey, and they smother you That's what their coach, Rob Brindamore, demands. If you're on the first line through the fourth line, you go out and forecheck, and you play physical, and you smother the other team. And that's kind of what's going to happen here. This is going to be a great series. It might be boring at times. There might be times in this series where the puck doesn't move well. It just gets, mucked around there in the neutral zone, and people are looking for some excitement. It doesn't happen. They're pretty good on the penalty kill. Jack Eichel's got to get going on the power play. Jack Eichel's got to come out of the slump on the power play. He's got to be great on the power play. And the goaltending, I think, is even. I think it's pretty even overall. 702-365-9200. Coming up next, the great Jeff Sherman will join us. He'll tell you how to bet it. One of the best bookmakers in town. I wanted him on today to preview the NHL Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals and what happened with the Rams. Supposedly a big line move. We'll get to that next. Brought to you by Boyd Gaming. 10 local spots, casinos here in the Valley, and they're all showing the Golden Knight game. So head on out to Boyd Gaming. There's always guys scoring or the potential to score. JT back with you. We're brought to you by Grimaldi's, the best pizza I've ever had. 4 locations here in the Valley. 4 locations here in the Valley. If you want to get through, have a Grimaldi's pizza party, order ahead, pick up there, and have a Stanley Cup viewing party. We bring in one of the best sports directors in town, VP, always of risk management, one of the best bookmakers I know. Jeff Sherman joins us. So, Jeff, before we get to hockey and the NBA Finals, let's get to Myles Garrett and the signing with the Rams. What did that do to their moving odds?
Yeah, that was a surprising shakeup there, but the Rams were a 6-1 favorite for the Super Bowl. They got lowered to 5-1, and at the same time, we raised all the other NFC teams. So Seattle from 8-10. That means the Rams are the only team in single digits right now for the Super Bowl title.
Do you recall something like that from a non-quarterback over the years? Usually you think a Hall of Fame or an MVP quarterback, and a move like that could move something that quickly. But for the Defensive Player of the Year, that's pretty special, huh?
I don't, except it would have been Max Crosby this year, except that got rescinded. Mm-hmm. So, that would have been on par with that.
What about the Patriots and the A.J. Brown news? We knew that might have been baked in advance. That looked like there was no secret that he would end up there. But how does that change from a team in the Patriots that I didn't think would go to the Super Bowl last year? They did, and it looks like they got better.
Yeah, no adjustments made with that. Like you said, there was a lot of anticipation that was going to happen. And they do have a tough schedule, a first-place schedule coming off this year. So we really didn't make any adjustments with New England.
Yeah, with New England and the win total, and Jeff, for all the years you've been doing this, when a team like that gets, also Denver too, if we can tie in New England and Denver, they win a lot of close games. A lot of bettors think that's going to reset the following year. They come back to earth a little bit. They don't sneak up on teams. When we look at Denver and especially New England with the win totals, I think a lot of people thought they'd take a little bit of a step back because they got so many breaks last year and they were able to close so many games.
Well, that's just it. I mean, each team has a win total of 9.5, so that is somewhat of a decent step back. And then you look at each team has to play the first-place schedule, so it gets a little bit tougher where New England had an easier schedule last year. So you always expect that regression when teams overachieve the prior year.
Jeff Sherman's our guest. We saw that with the 49ers last year and part of their easier schedule. And part of their schedule's tough because they got to play the Rams in Seattle. But this is a 49er team that's not keeping up with the Rams. What's changed with the Niners number overall, season win totals, and their odds to win the Super Bowl?
Well, the odds to win the Super Bowl went up from 18 to 20, and the season win total is 10.5, and we just altered the price a bit. But they've been dealing with a lot of injuries the last couple of years, so we'll see how their health remains this year. But the Week 1 game in Australia, the Niners and Rams play, and we did bump that up from Rams -3 to Rams -3.5.
All right, let's move over to one more team I wanted to mention. I mentioned this on my show last night, Detroit. I thought Detroit was a Super Bowl contender the last couple of years. I thought they've had a window, just like Buffalo, to get to the Super Bowl and/or win. And it's really quiet now with Detroit. Is there any sharp money coming in on the Lions? I wouldn't expect after the Rams move yesterday, but what do you have Detroit?
Well, there was some sharp money on the Week 1 line at home against the Saints where it opened 6.5 and it's up to 7. But for the Super Bowl, we were aggressively low on the Lions at 14-1 because they have one of the easier schedules in the NFL. So if you take their down year last year and then their schedule this year, we think there's a good chance they can bounce back and their season win total is at 10.5.
Let's move to hockey coming into this game here. Overall series price, Golden Knights on the road in a hostile environment at Carolina.
Yeah, the Hurricanes are minus 145 with the Golden Knights plus 135. Very similar for the game one line. Carolina minus 144, Vegas plus 134. And a lot of back and forth action in both the series price and the game.
Are you surprised by that, the way Vegas swept Colorado? There were injuries there, no doubt about that, but I thought there'd be a little bit of momentum coming on Vegas here as that line holds strong.
Carolina only had one loss in the postseason so far, so we expected a decent, with them having home ice advantage, a decent price on Carolina. And the Sharps have played Carolina in the series up from $1.40.
What's the puck total typically like in a Stanley Cup with two teams like this? You know, if you see regular season, it's 5.5. Does it get lower in the Stanley Cup Finals because teams play a little bit more conservative? What's that look like?
Well, that's what we have is 5.5 over $1.20. Okay. And if it was regular season, you typically see 6s and 6.5s all throughout the regular season. So 5.5, relatively low. And if we see some unders, you'll see an adjustment starting with the price and then maybe on the total moving downward.
All right, let's move to the NBA where my Knicks are in the NBA Finals and want to get rid of a haunting ghost of 53 years. So I know there was a lot of sharp money on OKC. There was some liability there, OKC going for back-to-back championships. What was the value like for the Spurs coming back and winning Game 7 on the road?
Yeah, there's a lot of Spurs support throughout the series. So, and the Spurs are their remaining liability for us in the future book. Do well with the Knicks. And Game 1, the Spurs open up as a 5-point favorite. It's down to 4.5. So Knicks money showing up, and series price Knicks money showing up. It's minus 180 for San Antonio, plus 160 for New York.
Plus 160 for the Knicks to win the series. 160, huh?
That's where we're at right now. You know, I made this number myself, minus 175, plus 155. So I think the Knicks are going to be highly competitive in this series, and you have to think that way, the way that they've been playing, shooting the ball lights out.
Yeah, it's just incredible what we're seeing with the momentum of the Knicks. And how hard is it, Jeff, to handicap the Knicks, knowing that they didn't have the toughest road with Atlanta, Philadelphia, the flawed aspects of Cleveland, but the way they've been destroying everybody and blowing out these covers. I mean, covering by 25 or 30 points. That's kind of unique, isn't it?
It is, and that's what we have to do is find respect in the line. And you know, this line is it's very respectable, only getting 4.5 points on the road against one of the top Western teams that for the whole season, San Antonio and Oklahoma City look like far and away the best teams.
All right, so finally the handles on both coming in for the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Final. If you look at that, are you expecting a bigger handle, obviously, because it's a local Vegas team?
Oh, it always is. It's probably going to be double what it would be as if it were not the Vegas team.
And is it a bigger handle for the NBA because it's Victor Wembanyama over OKC, and the Knicks are going to, every Knicks fan that's got $20 to $5 is going to be all in on the Knicks?
Yeah, this one will be very well wagered upon, too, with, like you said, Wemby against a big market like New York. Had it been Oak City, I think it would have been a little bit less than what we're expecting with Wemby in the finals.
And I'm going to be out of town, but I'll be back east near the U.S. Open. Any movement on Scotty or the leaders there, or where's the money coming in for Shinnecock in the U.S. Open?
It's coming in on Scotty at 5-1. He's down to 9-2, and we're still seeing it. But that's his current price, and a little bit of movement on Russell Henley, who just won last weekend down in Texas. He went from 60 to 40, and he's really threatening the majors so far, so he could do some damage.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Appreciate your time.
Okay, thanks, JT.
That's Jeff Sherman. That's a nice conversation with someone who's real high up in this town when it comes to setting the line. And as I told you, he set the line when it comes to the Spurs and the Knicks, and not many guys have the ability to do that. That's pretty impressive overall. As a Knicks fan, I'm not a gambler, but, man, I'd be betting heavy on the Knicks, man. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. San Antonio, the favorite. Carolina, also the favorite to win the championship round. 702-365-9200. Thanks to Levi Edwards, who was fantastic, and Jeff Sherman. Calls have been light. I think it's light in this town for the Vegas and a hockey game tonight. It's just me. I'm going to try again. I'm going to do a brand new show here coming up in 5 minutes. But coming up, we have a very good NFL guest with some outstanding content on what happened yesterday. Bill Bender will join us from USA Today as he has a detailed article on what happened with the Rams and the Browns. And I'm just wondering, Clay, now that the Cleveland Browns traded him, don't you feel like other teams should have been kicking the tires, or was that something? And he's talking about it. I think the Rams have been hunting down Myles Garrett since before the draft. This is something as an organization they had to get done.
A franchise-altering player like that, to Defensive Player of the Year awards, I would be thinking of everybody that would be really close to winning a championship. Why didn't we get that? Where were we on that? Were we anywhere close? Are you calling Andrew Berry? Like, something would have to be done, because when you look at it, the Browns did get a lot of good players, potentially, but why couldn't that have been Buffalo or Baltimore or somebody like that or San Francisco that feels like that window is open?
Yep, that's where we're at. All right, so when we come back, we got one more hour to go. We'd like to hear from you, 702-365-9200 if you want to get in. We'll dive into that trade. Also, Alex Eschelman is going to join us coming up. And I'm working on someone really good also who knows basketball, Jason Jackson. He's fantastic from NBA Radio. We're reaching out to him on a busy day today. The Stanley Cup is in town, and we're excited to talk about it, brought to you by M Resort. All right, hour number 2 of the show. We're rolling today. Vegas is in the Stanley Cup final tonight. Alex Eschelman will join us coming up to tell you about all the watch parties. There's a DirecTV carrier issue here. If you have DirecTV, oh boy, you might not be able to watch it. Get your ass to a sports bar might be your best chance. Yesterday, the Myles Garrett deal, the A.J. Brown deal. Thrilled to talk to Bill Bender, who joins us from USA Today. He had a great article breaking down the Rams and the Browns trade. So, Bill, let's begin. He had a no-trade clause. Did enough teams call, or was this always the Rams that were hunting down Myles Garrett and wanted him desperately?
Well, I think, more than anybody who isn't inquiring about Myles Garrett isn't trying to get better if he's on the trade block. You saw rumors about a couple other teams involved. But, I mean, I think I used the phrase shape-shifting in some ways for the NFC. I mean, the Rams, to me, go hands down favorite. You bring in a guy like him that it did remind me a little bit of Reggie White when he was signed with the Packers. You go back and look, he played 6 seasons in Green Bay.
Yeah.
So I think Myles Garrett has plenty left in the tank.
I would agree. I think he's loaded for bear, coming off Defensive Player of the Year in the year he had last year. I saw him in Vegas here last year. He was a train wrecker overall. So what does this do with Jared Verse, who was a very good player? I know he's not Myles Garrett, but he was a big part of that team, which was a Super Bowl contender here. They get the better player, but they also give up a lot of value in return. Where did you have the value overall ranked as what the Rams had to give up?
Well, trade both teams win, both teams lose. You gave up a lot of draft capital. Jared Verse is a very good player, an edge rusher, impact, a very strong start to his career with back-to-back Pro Bowl appearances. The pass he's taken from Albany, I'm watching him a little bit. They played North Dakota State way back when in the FCS playoffs. He's taken a long road to get there. He's from Dayton. I think Cleveland so I live in Ohio, right? And a lot of my friends are Browns fans. So when you can get past the short-term pain of another Cleveland legend leaving the city, they did get a lot of draft and Jared Verse in return and things to build toward that new stadium they're going to have in a few years.
You talked about how Cleveland loses here because they lose really another great player. I mean, this is a team, I knew Jim Brown really well, and Jim Brown's just different. He's one of the greatest players of all time. But if you look back historically, as you wrote for the Sporting News, check out the column at sportingnews.com, losers, another Cleveland legend leaves. And you brought up Manny Ramirez, CeCe Sabathia, Bernie Kosar, LeBron James. I mean, this is a fan base that's been scorned.
Yeah, my son is 15 now, but when he was younger, he had a Francisco Lindor baseball jersey and a LeBron James basketball jersey, and both of those guys left. So it's been one of those things. Fortunately, he's a Packers fan. He got that from me. His mom, he got the Cleveland teams from. But, I mean, that as a fan, Myles Garrett did all this. His career was very much like Joe Thomas, the old Hall of Fame tackle that spent his entire career there. The bad part, if you're a Cleveland fan, you got all those sacks. Myles Garrett only played in 3 playoff games, and now you're probably going to watch him play in 3 playoff games next year.
Yeah, it's a great way of putting it. Bill Bender's our guest. You said the other winners, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Aaron Rodgers. Let's dive into that for Burrow. This has been a nightmare scenario for him, lining up in the division and having to get to Myles Garrett. Same for Lamar Jackson. Lamar is a little bit more, movable outside the pocket here. And the aging Aaron Rodgers got to set him a set of golf clubs or some type of gift to not have to deal with him at Aaron Rodgers' age twice here. That's big for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, I was stunned last year. Aaron Rodgers didn't take a sack against the Browns. And remember, that was late in the season, and there was some controversy whether or not the Steelers were intentionally not trying to get Miles. Well, even though you don't let a guy get a sack, there was some, that they were deliberately trying to get the ball out quick and those kind of things. I think the Bengals of the three. Every time he played against the Bengals, he wreaked havoc on them. That Week 1 game last year against Cincinnati and Joe Burrow. So, if you're a fan of those teams, you're very happy that Myles Garrett is gone. And if you are a fan of the Seahawks, 49ers or Cardinals, I mean, he can get after those quarterbacks, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, whoever starts for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I want to get to the 49ers. I think they were the biggest loser, in my opinion, because they know how good the Rams are, and the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. And I don't think the Niners are done. I think that you'll see John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. That team just was decimated by injuries the last couple of years. But when it does come to Brock Purdy having to go up against the Rams, and I'm a believer, I believe, and I wanted your opinion on Aaron Donald coming out of retirement. It makes a lot of sense for him to do that, to play along Myles Garrett. Earlier today, he texted Pat McAfee and says he's thinking about it, so he is confirming that. Can you imagine Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett going into Levi Stadium to play the Niners?
That's terrifying. I mean, if you're any quarterback, it's not just the Niners, but to your point, they'll probably be picked to finish third in the division, though you can't count Kyle Shanahan out, the way they scheme. And the biggest thing of all, they were very unhealthy last year. They had so many injuries. But I would take it as far as to, if you're Green Bay or Chicago or Detroit or Dallas, those other NFC contenders, Philadelphia, now you got to face Myles Garrett in the NFC. I mean, I'll take it back to last year when Cleveland played Green Bay. Myles Garrett won that game for Cleveland. He just was all over Jordan Love the entire game. So he can do that. And you mentioned the Raiders game. He can do that 3 to 4 games a year where he is the biggest difference maker on the field.
All right, so let's move to A.J. Brown. That wasn't really a secret. A lot of insiders have been reporting on that for a while. It's kind of a shame that he couldn't stay and get along with Jalen Hurts. They look to be a good fit. They won a Super Bowl together. He's making money, and then it just seems like he wanted to go to New England and play for Vrabel. How do you look at that deal?
I mean, it's great for New England and Drake May, as long as A.J. Brown's happy. You just said it. They won a Super Bowl. And Philly's offense, the Super Bowl year, was a great balance between the pass with Smith and Brown, and then obviously Saquon Barkley on top of it, 2,000 yards. I think I try to think who has more to lose here. And I think it could be Jalen Hurts. If the Eagles continue to struggle passing the football, Nick Sirianni gets put on the hot seat that shortly after winning the Super Bowl. Whereas A.J. Brown's a receiver. If he goes to New England and he's unsuccessful, I think the less weight will fall, because New England obviously has been in the news for everything else this offseason.
All right, wrapping this up overall, and I really appreciate your time. When I'm here in Vegas, and there's Max Crosby here, and Baltimore had him. I thought it was good value for Baltimore. The Raiders, I'm not into a late first-round pick, but they would have had the 14th pick overall. And Max, I just saw the other day, is almost completely healthy. He'll be ready to go. Looking back on that deal now with Myles Garrett in L.A., do you think some teams will be calling on the Raiders to see the availability for Max Crosby?
Maybe, but you know what? The Raiders, they were one of my draft winners. I like the core they're building. With Fernando, Fernando's a winner. He's going to be fine there when you have Gianti, Bowers, Crosby on the other side. New coach, new hope. You're obviously in a ridiculous division. with the Chiefs and the Broncos and the Chargers, and it's going to be tough. But I really like the pieces they're putting together there, and it may take some time with Fernando. But, I mean, I'm in here in Big Ten country. That what he did last season, his toughness, don't let the demeanor fool you.
Okay.
He is one tough dude. He can play.
And one more on the Giants with John Harbaugh. Do you think he's going to have the stomach to deal with the egos of Jackson Dart, Cam Stickadaboo, Malik Neighbors, Abdul Carter already going after the quarterback? How ugly could that get? Because Harbaugh's not going to let it get out of control. But I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of limos going to clubs and restaurants coming back and forth through the tunnel. And John Harbaugh is going to be busy trying to kind of wrangle in all of his young stars who are dating social media influencers and love microphones.
I think you just said it. The visibility is so much more, right? Baltimore, not to say Baltimore isn't visible, but this is New York, man. This is the NFC East. It's the right Sunday Night Football division, right? They're always on Sunday Night Football. And I did think they had a nice draft to start with Arvell falling to them and CeCe Malgoa, the enormous tackle. But everything's a huge story. Last week's a great example. That won't be the last one where something turns into what should be a one-day story turns into a week-long story and some more. So John will have to adjust to that. But, yeah, that's a lot of work to do. Not to mention the division's tough. Everybody else is going to be pretty good, Philadelphia, Dallas, and Washington.
Thanks, Bill. Good to talk to you again. Always appreciate your time.
Hey, anytime. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
You got it. Bill Bender, USA Today, and he did a detailed deep dive on the Myles Garrett deal. You can find that all at thesportingnews.com. There's not many great writers anymore, man. Sorry to say it. USA Today, I used to read it all the time. Sporting News. Now you're seeing guys get whacked from Sports Illustrated and other publications. Clay, that's the one big change in our career. You've been booking great guests and hosting at the highest level your whole career, and now you sit there and you try to look for a sports writer to have on a show. I think we do a good job of it here. It's hard because a lot of them are very talented and they're in between jobs or they're just writing on social media. Bill's got USA Today and the Sporting News.
Yeah, so what if you're young and coming out of college and you like maybe a possible career in journalism? The traditional avenues of places that would hire you aren't there. And you have to either carve it out on your own or find something else that's like similar. And I love to see how, even like 30 years ago when our friend Mike Response was telling me the Boston Globe is going to lose all of its writers and they're just going to reprint everyone else's stuff. And I remember that was 1999. I was like, you're crazy. That would never happen. Not the Globe.
Dan Shaughnessy, all the great writers that they had. Bob Ryan.
Yeah. That's when you would buy the paper for the personality of the writer. You love seeing that come into your mailbox every day. And not having those names, those faces becoming relevant in your life anymore is a little scary.
When I was a kid, a young boy, my dad would take the train from Long Island to New York City every day. And my dad would come home and bring the newspaper. So that was one of the things he knew when he got off the train. And the train was littered with newspapers. Littered, right? Everybody would read their newspaper and just leave it. People wouldn't even throw it out. And my dad would come home with the New York Post or the Daily News, and I would read it. And I wouldn't read the whole thing cover to cover, but I would go to the sports page. That's how I got my batting averages. I was really, as a kid, wanted to know what everybody's batting average was. They didn't tell you that on the news. You had no chance. Like now on SportsCenter, they don't even tell you batting averages. All they have on SportsCenter is home runs. You turn on SportsCenter when they're not doing the WNBA. I went there. They love the WNBA on SportsCenter. Great. And you try to go, they never tell you a batting average of a player. Like Aaron Judge hits a home run. Okay, he hit a home run. What's his batting average? Right? They never have that. So I remember as a kid getting the newspaper and looking with a fine-tooth comb to the batting averages of players. And now no one cares. My sons, people don't care about people's batting averages. And, I was reading the tabloids, and I grew up also in a time when Donald Trump was on the cover of the tabloids in New York. I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking construction and who he was dating. And then the tabloids on the cover of the paper would have the big drama. What was happening with some celebrity. And then on the back, they were so ruthless in New York going after the heroes, the great players. If they had an off night, the New York Post back cover would have a comical look at a player, Clay, having a bad game.
Yes, I remember.
That doesn't exist. When you get the Las Vegas Review-Journal, which is a very good newspaper, very good, you don't see them mocking players. Like if someone doesn't score a goal where there's a cartoon, say Jack Eichel not scoring, they still do that in New York.
Yeah, and it's funny. I remember one time there was a player, I think it was Alan Trammell, may have saw a called third strike when the bases were loaded for the Tigers, and the caption, or the title of it simply said, with Trammell's face looking despondent, walking back to the dugout, the word was coward. Like it was cowardly to swing, and this is your hero of Detroit, a guy who spent 20 years with the organization. No, for the moment, coward. So that's the kind of edge that you'd have to keep in order to keep people's interest. But boy, following marriages in baseball, that was a time-honored tradition ever since the games started getting recorded in the paper in the 1890s.
Yeah, my buddy Nick just texted me, and he said, don't forget Odell Beckham Jr. So you're going to have Odell Beckham Jr., Juju Smith-Schuster, Jackson Dart, who's, by the way, dating a girl that is beyond a 10. She's a 12. She's one of the biggest social influences in the world. He's dating her. Malik Neighbors is hurt, and he's out of his mind. Cam Scatterbo just got fake teeth to grill. He got diamonds put in his teeth, and all he did was play running back for Arizona State. I'm telling you, the Giants are going to be tremendous must-see television and fodder. Hey, when we come back, Jason Jackson's going to join us from NBA Radio. He's also the voice of the Heat. We'll get his preview of San Antonio and the Knicks coming up. And then Alex Eschelman at the bottom of the hour. She does a great job on ABC 13. There's some watch parties tonight and Raiders OTAs. She's all over that as we continue with the flagship of the Silver and Black. What a good day to be on the radio.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by M Resort Spa and Casino, the official hotel of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Spurs radio on the call. I've always liked San Antonio. I love the Knicks. I like San Antonio. I love the Knicks. And I love this guy, voice of the Heat, NBA radio. Jason Jackson, kind enough to join us previewing the NBA Finals. Jason, I want to begin. If I went back 6 months ago, Spurs and the Knicks. Now you got to love this. How do you like this matchup personally?
Listen, I love it. I remember one of my first duties as one of the many people who covered the NBA for ESPN well before the rights days. JT used to split us up sometimes. You would get the East or the West. And so that 99 finals, my third year in of covering NBA every day, was my first full finals where I got to travel between both locations. And I'll never forget that finals, obviously, because it was like, listen, I had two finals with Michael Jordan, so let me not overstate it. But it still was like the one where I felt like, okay, I'm finally in the full mix of coverage with Stuart Scott and Dan Patrick and David Aldridge and all the gang and Dr. Jack Ramsey. And I think was that one sideline jet? I don't think so, for ESPN Radio later during those Lakers runs with Brent Musburger and that whole crew. But what a wonderful remembrance, man. I became a dad 2 months after that finals. So I knew immediately how much time had passed because my 26-year-old turns 27 in August, and that was it, the summer of 99, man, when we had the same matchup. But everything was a little different, JT. Remember? Mm-hmm. So you had the established Spurs led by David Robinson that had finally, made their way to their finals appearance, and then four more after that, right, for championships. And then it was the Knicks who lost Patrick Ewing, I believe, after the second round in the 99 playoffs. And it was all these guys, like, trying to find their way. And they were led by Allen Houston, who had that amazing shot against Miami back in the Game 5 days of the first round. And so it's just a very different storyline, nearly 30 years later.
Jason Jackson is our guest. When the Knicks started playing better fundamental basketball, I had to give a lot of credit to Mike Brown. I didn't think Mike Brown was going to be the answer. I thought I was into Tom Thibodeau and the fact that he got the Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals. I did not think he deserved to be fired, and I was wrong, and I admit it. The job that he's done in the last month, they didn't lose in the month of May. What do you think's changed with the Knicks and their style of play as they've been on this tremendous tear?
I think it's Coach Brown's ability to kind of, like, not make it about himself. First of all, he talks about collaboration a lot. You can see it for folks that are just going to tune in for the finals for the first time. And when you're watching Coach Brown, there's a lot of conversation with assistants. There's a lot of conversations with some of the guys that aren't playing among his playing crew. He spends time talking to his lead players, which is a big deal, to make sure the best players on your team are comfortable and doing the things they want to do to be able to impact things on both sides of the floor. I'm a big fan. I've always been a big fan. And it's a unique storyline, by the way, because as Coach Brown was coming up, one of his stops for a few seasons was with Coach Popovich in San Antonio before he got the head coaching job in Cleveland. And obviously, Mitch Johnson coming right from the Pop tree as well. So that's an interesting part of it. I think the first thing first was to get these guys to play as much defense at the highest level they could. And some of that was already in the dirt, fertilized by Coach Thibodeau, but another kick up by Coach Brown. He wanted to play this way early. He wanted to play a more collaborative thing that kind of allowed, Karl Anthony Towns to really be fully involved even in some of the distribution with the rock on the offensive end. At first, it really didn't stick, and he had to kind of work with the players on where they wanted to be comfortable and find their way. But then this is the thing about games like this, man. If you're patient enough, confident enough in your stuff, oftentimes things come full circle. So this full group approach offensively is probably where he wanted to start. And this is take nothing away from Jalen Brunson, but there was leading up to this space, there was this feeling there's only one way he was going to do it, and that was to pound the rock. And we're seeing, and he's seeing, and the world is seeing, that Jalen Brunson can still be massively impactful, still have a high usage, but that ball around a little bit more.
Jason Jackson is our guest, NBA Radio on Sirius XM. Wemby doesn't have a lot of weaknesses early in his career, but it's still very early in his career. It's not like Kareem in year 10 with multiple MVPs. He's still a very young player, and I think that's advantageous to the Knicks, that they're not getting Wemby in his absolute prime when he has 20 more pounds of muscle on him. What do you think the Knicks are going to try to do to attack him away from the basket or in the painted area to maybe get him in foul trouble, to try to get him on the bench a little bit? Is there a philosophy that could work with the depth of the Knicks trying to attack the rim and get Wemby in foul trouble?
Well, it can. It's the other way I'm more concerned about. I'll address your question first. I think Wembanyama has progressed quickly enough to recognize when he can gamble and when he just needs to exist. Like the mere fact that he can stand in the middle or be present in the middle, and sometimes they bring him up top, by the way, which blows my mind. But he has that ability, that agility to kind of be able to work on the perimeter at times, or when they flip the zone a little bit and put him up top. I think he has a decent feel for the need to be on the floor and not to overextend. He can do that like 2 or 3 times a game, but that's about it. I think he knows it. We'll see how this big stage impacts him. It's probably a good thing for him that this first foray into the finals is at the crib at home for them those first 2 games, so everything will sound right and feel right and all the energy going in their direction. My concern is what the Knicks are going to do to try to stop it. Right? You can't get Cat. You definitely can't get Cat in foul trouble. And that doesn't mean he's going to have to guard him, right? I don't worry about Mitchell Robinson's pinky, because his pinky doesn't have to do anything to deal with the majority of his game. I don't try to assess another person's pain, but they're going to need Mitchell Robinson and say to Mitchell, like, yes, you, sir, may use all 6 of your fouls every game on this man in your time on the floor. And Amin Al-Hassan brought this up on NBA Insiders, my partner each Sunday morning, that will we see Josh Hart at 6'5", nearly a damn foot shorter, try to get in there and be disruptive, try to front him, and try to pull the ball from him, particularly when he wants to put it on the floor. That's the only time I get a little nervous. And they did a lot of it, right, against OKC, because they figured out it was something to their advantage. But, boy, when you're 7'5" and dribbling, man, there's a lot of time that ball's not in your hand. and they have an ability very, very much like the Thunder to be disruptive. And so I'll see. That's one of the first things I want to see of how they're bring up the ball, talking about the Spurs, and setting offense. Do you still let the big do some of that, or do you get back to a little more traditional approach? That's the beautiful thing about these games, these 7-game series, is that, it's the adjustment, the feel out, see how things go, in the first quarter. But here's the thing about the Spurs. They're a very good first quarter team, so you can't get too, ropey-dopey or toe-to-toe with them.
Jason, last one. I got to end with Oklahoma City. You can't be a dynasty when you lose. You got to win 3 in a row or 3 out of 4. You've been with the Heat. You know what that's like to try to get the third and how tough it is. And you're not a dynasty if you win back-to-back. Ask the Detroit Pistons of 89-90. What a blown opportunity for OKC. The reigning MVP and SGA, home court advantage. They were the most dominant team in the regular season. They lose a Game 7 at home, and Chet Holmgren didn't even show up. How are they going to take the pain of that? This one's going to sting for quite some time, I would assume.
JT, you've seen it enough, man. You gotta let it take you. You got to go on the ride into the darkness. You got to go out to Joshua Tree in the desert. You got to go climb a mountain. You got to go to the abyss or something in Australia. You got to let it happen. The stuff that lingers that I've noticed in almost 30 years of covering this league is guys who try to deflect it, to try to act like it wasn't that big of a deal. We're going to see something here with Holmgren, and I take nothing away from what he's been able to establish, an all-star caliber player. But, man, this is the type of thing you put a pin in, and you see if this is going to be incremental growth, incremental fall-off, or a fall off a cliff, or a rocket up. Those are the kind of the trajectories I'm looking at. There's 2 things at play, right? Chet can't pass it to himself. Mm-hmm. So they got to have a better scheme that gets him involved. Man, I can't throw you the rock if you're not looking at me. If you don't, you don't understand what I mean? Like, there are big men who will seal off their guy and call your mama names if you have not thrown them the ball. I didn't see that. And that may not be his personality. And by the way, it doesn't have to be. But in those moments of truth, when you don't have 2 of your critical ball handlers in AJ and Jalen due to injury, and you see that your star, the MVP of the league, is giving everything he's got, a couple of your role players are playing there, what's off, and you only get 2 up. And then when they're looking to get you the ball, your eyes aren't engaged. That's going to be some tough film watching, and if he's what everybody thinks he is, then he'll bounce back from this, and it'll be fuel. And if it goes the other way, we'll know that too.
Thanks, Jason. Good to talk to you. I was thrilled to hear you were coming on. Thanks for doing this, and enjoy the finals. I'm always listening. Appreciate you. How about that? Jason, thank you, Jason. Jason Jackson, who does a great job. You can catch him on NBA radio. He's excited. I think a lot of people are excited. You get Wembanyama and the Knicks, the number 1 media market against the best, youngest player globally in the league. Golden Knights tonight, viewing parties galore, Raiders OTA. Alex Eschelman, our insider, kind enough to join us. So you got the hook with the viewing parties tonight. What's going on? Is this a big T-Mobile event? They're all over town.
JT, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I always appreciate being on your show. And, yeah, that's right. I'm literally, right after I hop off this radio show, I'm going to be heading to Toshiba Plaza for the watch parties. Should be fun. It was certainly fun after that Game 4 sweep against the Colorado Avalanche. People were going absolutely nuts. I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't have beer tossed into my hair at the very end of that one. So I'm kind of expecting the same thing. Maybe not tonight, but as we go down the stretch here in the Stanley Cup Finals, and wow, what a year it's been for the Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah, it's been great, and these viewing parties now are big in every city. You watch a game and Montreal's playing, and if they're on the road, you see 10,000 people outside their arena. Well, what was the image behind this with Mr. Foley and the organization? Because T-Mobile, with the connection to MGM, the Golden Knights, Toshiba Plaza, this is a big deal. Parking, the price to get in, which is low cost. How did this all come together so quickly? Yeah, that's a great question, JT. And I think the coolest thing about the Vegas Golden Knights and the way that they do their watch parties is we live in Las Vegas, and there's just no place in the country like Las Vegas, no place in the world really like Las Vegas. So they do a really good job of sharing the wealth. There's not a specific place every single time. And we've been at Circa, we've been at Fountain Blue, we've been off the strip at Uncommons in Southwest, we've been at Water Street all throughout the regular season and throughout playoffs. So with this coming together at Toshiba Plaza, I think the main goal is to emulate a home game environment right outside of the Fortress, right outside of T-Mobile Arena. And, you've been there so many times. It's a great little viewing area, great plaza where they set up a number of different activations and bars and restaurants to make it just kind of an open space for everybody to kind of hold hands, sing Kumbaya, be friends, and watch the games.
Alex Eschelman joins us, ABC 13. She does a great job for KTNV. So the criticism from fans outside the country is Vegas is kind of spoiled. They've been to 3 cups in less than 10 years. I think there's a tiny bit of truth to it because there were points this year which I would never call the fan base soft. But, tickets weren't as strong and people were kind of selling tickets, taking it for granted. Now everybody jumps in, which I'm okay with. Still a young hockey city overall, but everyone's got to be all into it now, Alex, because they are in Carolina, they are in Canada. I think it's imperative that this city really gets up for this because the home ice for game 3 and 4 is going to be imperative, especially if the Knights don't win a game on the road. I think they got to get a split. They got to win game 1 or 2 if they're going to win the series.
I agree, JT, and I also agree with the point. Hey, whether it's a good or bad thing, Vegas Golden Knights fans are spoiled. I mean, look at the success that a new club comes into Las Vegas. I mean, it's their first big-time professional sports team, and does what they've done over the last 9-10 years. It's really unbelievable. So I do think that there is a level of, I don't want to say entitlement, but Vegas Golden Knights fans don't know anything different other than their team being a playoff contending team every single season. So I do think that, and it's really with anything in life, sometimes you don't know what you have until it's gone.
Right.
So hopefully that's not the case for the Vegas Golden Knights fan base. Hopefully that they realize the grass is greener where you water it. And they take advantage of what we have going on right now because, man, it is really, really special.
Alex Eschelman's our guest. So what have been some of your storylines and reports from Raiders OTAs as you're getting to learn the coaches, some of the new players, but you have relationships on the air with some of the veteran players who have been there? What do you like about this? I'll start with Brock Bowers as he's looked great so far, and everybody seems to be talking about Linderbaum and what he's going to do as the center of this team to bring a lot of stability.
JT, you mean the football robot from heaven?
Yes, the robot from heaven.
I'm not going to live that one down. That was incredible. Listening to Coach Kubiak light up about Brock Bowers and rightfully
Wait a second. I know that was that your question? The robot from heaven?
That was not.
Oh,
that was not.
Okay.
I want to say it was maybe Adam Hill.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was. Whoever it was, kudos to them. Caps off to them because. That was a fabulous answer by Coach Kubiak, as you know. And, I think the shift this season, JT, and hopefully it pays off for the Raiders, and it's been this way since really the start of 2026, is this meticulous way about how they're going about every single decision. They are slow and steady. They're thought process oriented. And you can see that translate onto the football field in OTAs. And obviously we're going to have our final day of it with media availability being tomorrow, which we'll be at. But I think when watching this new team, there's a different level of seriousness on the football field. I mean, I was joking about it a couple weeks ago, but when Clint Kubiak said, I don't love how long the little hype up with the team is before we get to actual practice. It was a little too long for me. And immediately the next thing that I noticed the following week was that was cut down. I mean, yeah, of course they were hyping each other up and high-fiving and saying, let's go, whatnot. But it was definitely shorter. And there was a greater sense of urgency when kicking off practice, and urgency is really kind of a key word, not only for Clint Kubiak, but even Brock Bowers mentioned it. Linderbaum's also talked about, the seriousness of the program and the realization and the understanding of, needing to win games and needing to turn things around. And you can really feel that.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point because of me interviewing Pete Carroll every week last year. I got a lot of respect for him, and I'm not, going to sit here and embarrass that relationship that I built with him. But this seems to be more serious. I know how serious it was for Pete Carroll and Antonio Pierce, and especially Josh McDaniels. This one seems extra serious, if I could say it that way, because I think Clint Kubiak really values the limited time he has. Is that fair? Where he's only going to get him on the field for X amount of time.
Totally.
He wants him warmed up, ready to go, ready to start on his whistle. I've only been there a couple of times, but I've seen that I think the seriousness and being on time and what they expect from all the coaches as they lead them out of the building, that's a really big change for me.
Yeah, and to your point, JT, I learned that firsthand with Coach Kubiak and the fact that he is, in all caps, point blank period, a football guy.
Yes.
I asked him a few weeks ago about the schedule release with Fernando Mendoza and Kirk Cousins kind of being the stars, and he was very respectful, but he moved on from my question. He just said, I want to talk about football. And that set a precedence to not only me, but to the media that there's no funny business, going around. This is, they know what's at stake, and you can't do anything else but respect that.
Absolutely. If I didn't have to work tonight, my other job, my night show, I would be in the middle of that viewing party with a bucket of Modelo's. I'd be having the time of my life. You make sure, because I was struggling today. I'm struggling to get phone calls. It's kind of weird. The hockey fans, sports radio, it's not where I like it to be at. So people are probably getting sick of me banging the drum. I know your report will be great, pregame, postgame, but this has got to be big. This has got to be historic, these viewing parties, until they come home, because Vegas doesn't have home ice. If they win one of the two games, they get home ice advantage back. And that starts tonight, and Alex Eschelman will be at T-Mobile, Toshiba Plaza. Have a great time. You're perfect for this.
Oh, JT, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. And, hey, if I'm not mistaken, you're a Knicks fan, right?
Yes, I'm a diehard Knicks fan, yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's about time.
Talk about a fan base that has been waiting a long time for this. I hope you guys get it done.
You're the best. Take care. There she is, Alex Eschelman, ABC 13. It's very weird. My mind is weird now because I'm going out of town, which my family's everything. And as you know my schedule. I talk about it. I'm pretty busy. I can't, with this new Raiders schedule, only games on Sunday. They don't have a Thursday game, a Monday game. The bye week's week 13. So I have zero chance to see my mom and dad starting in August. Zero. And my mom was doing great. My dad was 88. They're not coming out to Vegas as much as they used to for obvious reasons, but hopefully they'll be out here. So I got to get my family time in now, and that's really important to me. But I'm going to miss a couple of Golden Knight games, which is weird. I'm not going to be on the radio for a couple of Knick games, which is weird for me. But family comes first, and I'm excited to watch. I'll be streaming on Instagram at JTTheBrickLV. Have a couple of backyard bricks back east, and we'll go from there. We'll wrap it up on the other side. Maybe I'll get that Golden Knight call I've been covering all day before Q comes on. 702-365-9200. Thanks to Alex Eschelman. Go down to T-Mobile Plaza. Be a grown-ass man. Go have a couple of beverages and root for the team tonight. Sunscreen and a hat. If you're outside, it's going to be hot. No doubt about that. We're brought to you by the DeCastro Law Group. They love the Golden Knights also. Proud partner of the show, the Brothers Win. Brothers Win. BrothersWin.com.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by the DeCastro Law Group. If you get injured in an accident, call 702-222-9999.
Hurdle wins the draw. Left point Theodore. He closes. He shoots. He scores! 3-0 Vegas. Shea Theodore with a couple of points in the first period of Game 6. The former Duck scores a power play goal 4 seconds into the night's second man advantage of the game.
Yeah, they're a good team. They're aggressive. They're fast and they're hard to play against. And I think at that time when we played them, we had some guys out. They had some guys out. So definitely going to be a little bit different intensity, especially with it being the finals. But it's going to be fun.
Shea Theodore, always been my favorite player. Those who ask, not many ask, who's my favorite player? It's Shea Theodore. Remember interviewing him when he got here? One of the first interviews I've done. I really like his style of play. We're brought to you by Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. They have so many promotions going on during the Stanley Cup. They make that cane sauce in store every day. I get the double coleslaw. I'm a Caniac. You could have the jugs of lemonade or iced tea, whatever you like. They're Raising Cane's, proud partner of our show, all over this Stanley Cup run for our Vegas Golden Knights. He's the Nostradamus of hockey in Vegas, Billy Cancun. Billy, who do you like in the series? Is it going to be a great one? Billy Cancun, he better be there. He's not there? Wow. I gave him the Nostradamus interview.
I'm here.
Now I got you. Now I got you. Go ahead, buddy. How are you?
Hey, doing well. I think we'll see one of the best Stanley Cup playoffs finals in history. The thing that I like that I don't think you touched on, Vegas Golden Knights are the most hated team in hockey. Very fitting because the Raiders are too. We love it. We're the Ric Flair of the NHL.
So you believe this is the forecheck series, this is the defensive series, this is the first three lines getting after each other. Is there any advantage for the veteran-led Olympians all-stars of the Vegas Golden Knights? Where's the advantage for Vegas?
Arguably you could say Eichel is the best player on the ice. They counter it. Hurricanes counter it they've got forwards that just smother you when you're trying to break out of your defensive. And they also have an unbelievable penalty kill with only 4 goals scored during their penalty kill in the entire playoffs. So they're great getting out there. Rod Brind'Amour gets everything out of his players because he's such a hard-nosed guy. He's 2 hours in the gym every day, better shape than most of his players. We're going to see the best playoffs of all time, and I love the fact that we're hated.
All right, Billy Cancun, a former hockey player who says this will be one of the greatest cups competitively, thanks for the call, buddy, that we've ever seen. I'm getting a lot of that. I'm getting a lot of people saying that the quality of hockey, and it's supposed to be great quality of hockey, you're in the Stanley Cup final, but in this matchup, from the coaches, John Tortorella, Rod Brind'Amour, from what we're seeing, that this could be an iconic matchup. I don't think it's going to be iconic in regards to ratings and all that, because I think most of the country, or most of Canada, doesn't care about Carolina and Vegas the way they'd care about New York, Edmonton, or Montreal, maybe Colorado, I don't know, or Detroit. But it's going to be good for us because we're in Vegas and we get an opportunity for this. Here is Ray in Vegas. It took a while, but here come the VGK fans. Hello, Ray.
Hello. I'm a delivery driver, so I can't always call, but I am always listening.
Appreciate you.
And, God, it really should be a really good matchup. I mean, they're definitely even. Hopefully we can keep them to the outside, not let them get a lot of scoring things. We got to keep possession, not kick it down and go for the chip and chase, and hopefully Hurdle and everybody can keep it going like they have been the last couple of weeks. Really a dodgy season, but the series the last month has been awesome.
Yeah, it hasn't been a great regular season, right? If they played in the East, they wouldn't even have made it. But now they have a chance to win the Cup. So I agree with you. During the season, it was really up and down, all these overtime games. Every game went to overtime where either 2 points or a point. It was a very difficult regular season to follow this hockey team. And then when they flipped the switch with Tortorella, it's been brilliant.
Yeah, everybody's finally out of the wheelchair. Supposedly we got a totally healthy line, so
yep. Thank you, my friend.
Should be a lot.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's what I was looking for. I can leave here on a high note, hearing from some hockey fans. Q's coming up next all over the hockey opportunity in this town with our partnerships in the building and the Raiders. Check out his show coming up. We got a big one lined up tomorrow. Hopefully Vegas wins tonight because that's a hostile environment, and they go up 1-0. And then tomorrow we got the NBA Finals kicking off. Raiders, OTAs, a lot happening. Busy time. It's June. It's 100 degrees the way it always is. We got an opportunity to talk sports, and I greatly appreciate your time. You miss any portion of the show, lvsportsnetwork.com.